please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Markets recover post noon to end flat in trade. Broader indices outperform with the mid-cap index being the lone gainer. Nifty FMCG falls for the third straight session. All eyes are on the August GST collection data, which will be released later this evening. Sources indicate that the collections will come in between 80 to 85,000 crore rupees, which is significantly lower than the 95,000 crores collected in the month of July. That's a CNBC TV18 exclusive.
There has been a bit of pain in the short term for everyone. As we know that the first quarter of the fiscal, we had drop in the GDP growth as well.
I think if you take an average of 25 to 30% contribution from rural, a lot of it is being serviced by the wholesale trade. I think that's where there is some impact, negative impact because of GST.
Retail giants Walmart and Marico tell CNBC TV18 that their revenues took a hit in the last 2 months because of GST. Krish Iyer of Walmart says that he expects a turnaround due to festivities, but Harish Mariwala expresses concerns about rural volumes.
We will go to the doorstep of people and provide the connection, right up to a meter and a bulb and a charging point.
Fresh corpus of 4,000 crore rupees allocated from the year's budget for the Universal Electrification Scheme, says the Union Power Secretary. That's a CNBC TV18 exclusive. He adds that the government wants existing power purchase agreements to be honoured.
We have decided to set up a regulatory review committee, regulatory review committee under the chairmanship of DIPP Secretary, so that very quickly we can look into some of these issues which inhibit the growth of industry in India.
Commerce Minister Suresh Prabhu meets industry representatives for the first time after taking over, decides to set up a review panel to look into issues inhibiting industrial growth. The government shifts focus from shell companies to what it calls active firms. The Corporate Affairs Ministry will undertake a census of over 10 lakh active companies in a bid to resolve issues such as fake addresses and dubious directors. That's another exclusive. NHAI board approves toll operate transfer model to monetize highways. Will float bids next week to monetize 9 highway projects worth 6,400 crore rupees. Foreign players also express bidding interest. That's another exclusive. Back-to-back AGMs for Anil Ambani's Reliance Capital, Infra, Power and Communications fundraising plans is the central theme. Son Anmol announces that Reliance Capital will launch standalone health insurance arm and it will be listed next year. Well, those are the top headlines at this hour. This is the show where our team at CNBC TV18 gets you the top stories of the day. I'm Mitali Patel and you're watching Reporter's Diary. After 2 days of selling, markets took a breather and ended flat after a volatile session. Higher open, 60-point intraday fall, post-lunch recovery and a flat end. This sums up Nifty's movements today. Sensex ends just 1 point shy of 31,600 level. The mid-cap saw a bigger fall and even bigger recovery in today's trade. The index ended with gains of 0.3%. Bank Nifty surged post 3 p.m. and managed to eke out slim gains. Anuj Singhal is joining us now with a wrap of today's trading session. Anuj, should the bulls cheer today?
What a volatile day for the market. I mean, the index was down 1 point at last count, but it's honestly concealing more than it's revealing. It was all over the place. The last hour decline in particular on the Nifty futures once again, I think, spoiled the sentiment. Even though the market did recover from the low, once again closed at the midpoint of the low and the high point of the day. The mid-caps rallied today, which was interesting because generally recoveries led by mid-caps are a bit feeble in nature. In terms of stocks that dragged the markets today, TCS was a big culprit. HDFC has been a problem point for the market. Maruti as well was down. Bharti Infratel, BPCL and HUL were your biggest losers. On the way up, commodities clearly standing out. So ONGC gaining on that crude rally. Vedanta, Tata Steel, all of them were up. Some big stocks of the day. Avenue Supermarts with a market cap of 75,000 crores now. Edelweiss, what a phenomenal move it's been for Edelweiss over the last 2 years. And India Bulls Venture remains a bit of a mystery stock. Some other F&O gainers today included names like Goldsmith Phillips, India Bulls Real Estate and DHFL. all in all, the sense you get is that the market may be trying to make a near-term bottom at 9,800, but it looks like it wants to test the last low of 9,700 to see if there is the durable bottom. Let's see. 2 days left for expiry. It could get a bit volatile.
That was about today's market action. But the big story this evening, the government will release the GST collection data for August at 5:30 p.m. today. According to sources, the collections for the month of August will be lower compared to 95,000 crore rupees, which was collected in August. Timsy Jaipuria joins us with the details. Timsy, how much lower are the numbers for August expected to be compared to July, and what is the approximate breakup of the numbers so far?
Well, as you rightly mentioned, the figures are a little lower than what we saw in the first month of GST. What my sources indicate that GST revenue collections for August as on 25th September stand around 80 to 85,000 odd crores. It is in the range of 85,000 crore rupees. Approximate is what the broad number looks like as against 95,000 crore rupees in the first month. Of this 85,000 crore rupees, about 65,000 odd crores is a combination of CGST, SGST and cess, and the remaining 15,000 crore rupees is IGST on imports. Now, a primary reason which is being cited by the officials for this marginal decline in the figures is that GST returns continue to come in, but at a lower pace. That slow pace is actually leading to a decline, which is it should not be seen as a decline, but it's a very small slip in the figures. But yes, we must realize that up to first deadline, that was September 21, only 31 lakh returns were filed, post which the return number is also not picking up to an extent that it is still in the range of below 40 lakhs. Remember, in the last month, we saw in the first figure itself that 45 lakh plus returns were filed. So it's a case of a lesser number of returns yielding to less revenue receipts to the government.
Thanks for that. Thanks for that information, Timsy. We'll, of course, come back to you again once the government officially releases the data. Now, the government will soon set up a regulatory committee that will look into issues that inhibit growth in India. That's the key takeaway coming in from Suresh Prabhu's first formal meeting with India Inc. after taking over as Commerce Minister. Rituparna Bhuyan, who was present at the meeting, joins us now. Ritu, Suresh Prabhu hitting the ground running.
Well, we can say that this was the first formal meeting between Suresh Prabhu and corporate India inside Commerce Ministry, and there are some specific decisions which got taken after that meeting. For example, firstly, it was decided that a regulatory review panel will be set up to basically ensure that if the industry faces issues related to procedures, it can be taken up with the government through this mechanism. Of course, the details in terms of reference of this panel is yet to be decided, but this panel will be under the DIPP secretary. Secondly, it was also decided to set up a mechanism for monitoring of investments, both domestic and foreign, to ensure that there is fast-track implementation of those investments. Of course, again, the details of this mechanism will be worked out, but this mechanism will be through what is known as Invest India, which is basically an institution which DIPP and FICCI jointly administer. Thirdly, it was also requested. The DIPP requested the industry to give data on capacity utilization. The industry told DIPP that current average capacity utilization is around 74%, and DIPP has requested, the Commerce Minister has requested the industry to give data on how this capacity or this unutilized capacity can be used up, and if any other interventions are needed on that. Last but not the least, the industry also put forth their concerns on GST, especially procedural issues related to GST.
Thank you, Ritu. Now, last evening, Prime Minister Narendra Modi switched on Saubhagya, a 16,000 crore rupee scheme to provide electric connections to over 4 crore families in rural and urban areas by December 2018. Today, we sat down with PAR Secretary Ajay Bhalla to understand the mechanism of this scheme. He said that the scheme would be implemented via state governments and DISCOMs, and that they would try to enable last-mile connectivity to unelectrified households, but he did clarify that free electricity connections will not mean free power supply. The consumer, he said, would have to pay for the electricity consumed.
The total allocation is about 17,000 crores, and a major component will be meters and last mile connectivity. And wherever each the transmission line doesn't go up to the house or to that part of the village, it will be some expenditure on the poles and line also. And in some places, depending on the load, there may be some transformers also. Recently, the Shakti auctions have taken place, and about 10 to 12 units, about 27 million tons per annum coal will be allocated to them, which means another 6,000 to 7,000 megawatts will be added to the system. All the schemes are implemented through the state governments and DISCOMs. Here, for the mainline states, it's the 60% support which Government of India gives. And for hill states and all, it is much more than that. And we have incentivized that. Of course, scheme will be implemented by the DISCOMs. This is a program where each and every household should get an electricity connection. And as it is a willingness of the people to come and seek connection, there were difficulties perhaps in the procedures in various states. So it has been decided that we'll launch a scheme will be launched where we will go to the doorstep of people and provide the connection. Right up to a meter and a bulb and a charging point will be given to him up to his doorstep. And the provision of the connection is not to be charged from the poorer households. But just to clarify, the electricity supply is not free. It is charged. I mean, consumer will have to pay for whatever power it consumes.
And you can catch that entire conversation right here on CNBC TV18 on Newsmakers at 7:30 p.m. this evening. Coming up next, the Corporate Affairs Ministry will undertake a census of over 10 lakh active companies to resolve issues like fake addresses and dubious directors. More on that exclusive story when we get back. Stay tuned.